Na-cancel ka na ba? Narinig mo na ba ang mga salitang, X na yan? O kaya, call out? For our episode today, we will be discussing cancel culture and its ethical dimensions. I am Yula Junina M. Blanco from the UPLB Philosophy Division, and with me are my colleagues.
Hi, I'm Janica de Guzman.
I'm Marga Taganas.
At ngayon, titignan natin ang iba't ibang aspeto sa etika kung paano natin maiintindihan itong cancel culture. Pero bago tayo magsimula, siguro kailangan nating i-define o intindihin ano ba muna itong cancel culture or what does it mean to be canceled?
I think this is also one of the recent terms, no, with social media, no, progressing, advancing through ages. No, I think the word cancel is in itself, no, it has been used for a different, no, kind of action or iba yung kanyang meaning from the usual mundane basic sense of cancel. So I think, it's a rich conversation, no, on how we can probe into this kind of issue, especially napaka-init ng issue na to lately.
Sa pagkakaalam ko, nagsimula siya actually as a form of joke back in the 90s or early 2000s. Like for example, very mundane yung nature niya eh. Kunyari, ayaw mo ng pizza or pineapple sa pizza, you're canceled, ganyan. No? And it evolved into something that people use to highlight some of the injustices or some of the wrongdoings of some individuals or some people. And in doing so, may parte na tinatanggalan ng certain platforms or privileges itong isang tao. At yun yung isa sa paraan kung paano sila nakakancel, natatanggalan.
So sa term itself na rin, no, to cancel someone, parang iniikisan mo na siya.
May
It's a form
tinatanggal
of-
tayo, so like you are withdrawing sort of support maybe, either from an individual or like a company or group of people. So may sort of kina-cancel or tinatanggal, wini-withdraw tayo from that person or group of people.
Kumbaga, it's a form of criticism in the sense you are excluding them. Pero it goes beyond just mere criticism. Parang
Yes.
mas malala, no? Pag sinabi natin cancelled.
There are a lot of consequences.
Correct.
That we
And also, isa sa mga associated na concepts dito, yung pangko-call out, no?
Yeah.
And one can say that the cancel culture is an extension or pwedeng mas
Or taking it one step
further, oo, yung
Yeah.
call-out culture. So, I guess magandang usisain din kung ano ba yung pagkakaiba ng dalawang konsepto na to para malinaw sa ating mga manonood kung ano ba talaga yung cancel culture at call-out culture.
So pag sinabi kasi nating call-out culture, you are calling out a certain wrong that they have done, a certain injustice that they have done, para magkaroon ng chance ang isang tao or ang isang individual to make amends, to correct their behavior, so that in the next opportunity, in the next time, hindi niya na ito uulitin. So,
May goal
It's-
of
yes,
correcting.
yes, oo.
Yeah, so like we make you aware of the wrongdoing and then we expect you to change.
Yes.
Parang may ganung no? Ganung anticipation na,
Yes.
okay, we want to correct you, but at the same time, we also want you to learn from that. Okay. But how about on cancel culture?
I guess one route na nag-share sila is on the idea of calling out what this person did, kung offensive man siya, kung may natapakan man siyang rights ng isang tao. But one significant difference is, ano ba yung intention niya? Mostly, and how the cancel culture evolved today, no, it is geared or it is practiced with the intention of really, I believe, ostracizing the person. Parang, there's no more intention to let the person understand what they've done wrong. It's more on, siguro napagod na kami sa'yo. tama na yan. Ganyan, no? So there's a difference in the intention. And I believe there's also the difference in how it is conveyed through the action as
actions.
well, di ba? Kasi when we call out someone, we're not necessarily intending for them to lose their job or be harmed,
against them,
ganyan.
yeah.
No? It's just that may mali kang nagawa, sana mabago kung mabago mo ganyan. But in cancel culture, may mali kang nagawa, dapat mangyari to sa'yo, dapat you deserve some punishments or some form of consequence regarding that certain action.
Kumbaga, as a way to attain justice, ito dapat yung mangyari sa'yo. That's why in cancel culture, there's no such aspect. You allow growth. However, in cancel culture, the way we see it now, especially in Twitter or in Facebook, wala ka ng chance mag-explain, wala ka ng chance to defend yourself. Once you're canceled, it will affect your livelihood, your job security, and even relationships,
with others,
inclusion in certain
society.
groups in society, exactly, you know. Pero looking at it then, kung mahalaga ang intention, what is the intention behind cancel culture? Ba't ba siya nag-arise? No? Why are we canceling people in the first place?
Well, in practice, siguro it's gonna be beneficial if we sort of identify first what are these kinds of actions that could constitute the cancel culture. Like for instance, if someone did something wrong or say something insensitive, like halimbawa an influencer, said something insensitive or hurtful or violent act na may ginawa or may sinabi. So, how do people receive, for instance, these kinds of actions? So in cancel culture, at least in practice, the way we see it on social media, some of them, they cancel by withdrawing support. So hindi ka na namin tatangkilikin, mag-unsubscribe kami. So in terms of influencers, and then hindi ka na namin i-follow, usually. Ganun yung mga unang step eh. But there are also other ways to cancel a person. More than just unsubscribing to their pages. And then, I think umaabot sa point na nagkakaroon ng doxing. Like, some people will actually expose your private information,
Your
online.
exact location even.
Yes,
diba?
your work, your company, and then it will just result into sort of parang cyberbullying or hounding, di ba? Parang yung continuous hounding na a lot of people are saying something, against you, etc. So, yeah, I think ito yung mga forms ngayon na nakikita natin on social media.
Dagdag ko lang din doon, marami kasing layers kung bakit nakakancel ang isang tao, no? Nakikita ko na malaking factor is, una, it's rooted on, I believe, the societies or the collective group's concern about a certain group or sector. Let's say, someone says something misogynist or sexist or racist, ganyan. People want to defend those people belonging to that sector na parang natapakan yung kanilang dignidad and they were not seen in a fair light, ganyan. But I think there's somehow a paradox in it, in a way that we are canceling this person because we care for this group. But in the process of caring for the other group, we are in a way harming this other person. So, isa yun sa mga nakikita kong moral dilemmas in the practice of cancel culture today.
Yeah, parang mahalagang i-explore nga din yung concept ng care and how it should be practiced in such situations. Kasi one person might say na hindi naman deserve ng care. Hindi deserve ng care kung masama ugali niya o if they said something sexist or racist. They don't deserve that kind of respect because they disrespected first. I'm not going to respect them. That's why they are canceled. But we have to be reminded in doing so kung paano sila nagkakaroon ng intersections with cyberbullying. And in such cases, masasabi ba natin reasonable to cancel someone? In what aspects do we find it acceptable or just to cancel someone?
Ito siguro yung notion natin na parang everything in the social media age, digital age, parang everything kasi is instant. Instant noodles, di ba? Lahat instant, even dating, it's just one swipe, one click away, messaging your group mates, for instance, for classes. Parang before, you need to get each other's numbers or email addresses, but right now, you can just search them up on Facebook, and then you get to, you get to talk to these people. So it's everything is instant in this kind of society. So baka if we try to look at cancel culture in that sense, so maybe maybe can we say that this is also like our way of getting instant justice? Kasi, some people will say, we have already this kind of distrust from the rule of law. It takes years, when we talk about the justice system, it won't give us the kind of justice na kailangan natin if we will wait for the law, no, para gumalaw. Pero like when we do cancel culture, when we sort of do this on ourselves, no, by ourselves, it's like we're getting sort of parang instant justice here. Agad-agad reprimanded, agad-agad merong consequence yung mga acts na nagawa. But can we really say that it's kind of justice?
Malawak na usapin.
Although, kung dun sa pagiging instant, kasi I can think of some cases wherein hindi yung pagiging instant yung habol nila with cancel culture, kundi yung aspect na there are gaps in our laws which allow perpetrators or which allow criminals to get away with what they do.
Yeah.
So the only last option is to cancel them.
Yeah.
Sa ganung klaseng narrative kasi naisip ko, una, itong cancel culture, it manifests a lot of the values that our society is currently practicing, no? Una-una ganyan, posible nga na, posible na nagkakaroon na din ng distrust sa justice system, which is why people are taking it into their own hands to implement what they think is just and right. Another is, when it comes to cancel culture, it is very divisive or polarizing in nature. Kumbaga, nakikita mo tong taon to at kung ano yung mga statements niya or actions niya as detached from the person. Walang, kumbaga, hindi masyadong holistic yung pag-intindi dun sa tao. Kung kaya't yung response natin, very combative. And in the process, we are also being divisive in our stance. This idea of being connected with each other, medyo mahirap i-attain with cancel culture, no? Kasi ang isa pang effect ay kapag yung tao na na-cancel, they can depict themselves as victims. Of this sort of digital mob mentality or shaming, ganyan, no?
Trial by publicity.
Yeah, exactly.
Parang ganun eh. So, instead na ma-address yung initial issue kung bakit sila pinuput sa ganung position in the first place, ang nangyayari, nababago agad yung narrative. So, mas nagiging divided yung mga tao on the issue. Which is harmful to our society, I believe, in general, no? Kasi instead of trying to understand each other, our mode is now, you did something wrong, stop. And then, you did something wrong, and then stop. Parang ganun yung nakikita kong effect niya.
At may mga far-reaching consequences
Exactly,
din kasi siya. Like, for instance, yung nabanggit mo nga kanina doon sa part ng person na na-cancel, with all this hounding, with all this bullying, no, in social media, and then nagamit na yung personal details mo, napakalat na yung mga personal details mo, and a lot of people are actually messaging you, sending you hate posts, halimbawa, or hate comments. So for instance, in that person, if we're really seeking accountability sa ganong klaseng wrongdoing nila, do we say that this is like a justified na action na, okay, because you did that, you deserve na maramdaman lahat ng mga to. You deserve na mag-undergo ng ganitong klaseng emotional experience in a sense na, I mean, it could lead to trauma, di ba? It could lead to victimization. At the same time, the experience won't be really like a learning experience, pero baka mas naging traumatic pa. Pero sa ganong klaseng perspective, we can also ask ourselves, no, is this the kind of accountability na gusto natin? Ito ba yung kind of accountability na gusto nating makuha from these people who committed such acts?
And do they instantly become accountable once you
Yes.
cancel them, once they lose their jobs, or once they lose social acceptance? Are they automatically accountable?
Yes.
Kasi it's also possible na, sige, i-cancel mo siya, and that person suffer the consequences of being canceled, pero deep inside, they don't have any regret dun sa ginawa nila, the
It's all
purpose
about
of why
the
they were
public
canceled.
appearance of being apologetic sometimes, no? And
Minsan nga nababaliktad pa na ako yung biktima ngayon. It takes the focus away from the very issue from where it started. So parang nagiging counterproductive.
At that's
Sometimes
yung
yung
growth.
canceling. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're like, when we consider people as, halimbawa yun nga, fallible. I mean, human beings are, prone and like fallible in a sense because we always make mistakes, we're still learning, when we try to look at in that kind of perspective, we might also want to ask ourselves, so where is growth in cancel culture? If we want to educate, for instance, people that, okay, what you're doing is for instance, sexist or that's racist, you shouldn't be doing that. Okay, so where is the room for growth? Like, okay, we want you to learn these things. We want you to know that what you did is wrong. Pero dun sa actions that we're doing in cancel culture, nasan dun yung room for growth? When we start ostracizing people.
Especially when we're looking at individuals, it's necessary that we come from a place of care still, no? Kahit ang lala nung ginawa niya o sinabi niya. I think it's important to cultivate that attitude na you come from a place of care, you want them to grow, you want them to learn something out of it.
I
But
think one of the downsides of doing cancel culture, especially in social media, is the participation of everyone who can see the post or kung ano man yung konteksto ng sitwasyon. Kasi when it comes to trying to correct someone, I do think that there's a level of relationship or at least knowledge about the other person involved in doing that effectively and with care and honesty, So once you take that out, madali talaga siyang ma-dismiss as a form of just blatant criticism. So people, for example, ako makakancel, ganyan, no? A lot of people are going to weigh in on the situation, give their opinions on it without even knowing who I am. But if we are going to try to do it with care, there needs to be a level of knowledge. Kung sino ba tong taong to, no? And mahalaga yun.
The context.
The context. And that's something that's difficult to attain in a public setting, in a digital platform.
And before proceeding to that next step, no, yung even that attempt to know who they are and whether it's real. Kasi there is a tendency na makakancel yung isang tao pero wala palang enough basis yung inungkat na issue.
Na-hype na lang yung issue through various posts, ganyan.
Okay, so paano naman, no? Looking at the consequences, was it fair? Asan yung accountability there? In the same way, shouldn't we be accountable as people who cancel others? Sana, in the same way that we demand them to be accountable, tayo din ay accountable dun sa sarili nating actions.
At saka
We
harm
be
yun
mindful.
Oh, but do we respond to harm using harm?
Yeah.
Diba? Or like, do we respond to violence using violence? Does that make our calls or fight justified? So maybe, do you think meron kayang change in the dynamics when we're talking about groups of people, corporation, companies, for instance? Diba? Ang cancel culture, it's not only for individual people But do you think merong pagkakaiba or meron ba tayong other reasons for supporting, for instance, cancel culture, pero on the level of companies, corporations, in boycotting, for instance? So kasi ito, mas malalaking usapin na to ng labor issues.
Yeah. So in such cases, makikita natin yung not only the negative aspect of cancel culture, but the positive aspect in which we can attract attention or we bring the issue in front for everyone to see, no? Kasi by doing these acts of boycotting or yung canceling a corporation, removing your support from a certain group, you are communicating to the world that there is something wrong being done by this powerful institution and they are to be answerable to those wrongs. So, in such cases, na pag level of institution, can we then say that it becomes more warranted or more acceptable? Is there a difference, if any, dun sa individual at group or corporation when we cancel them?
I think regarding sa issue ng institutions, sa tingin ko bago siya dumating dito sa malawakang pagka-cancel, pagbo-boycott, there's already a dialogue on the institutional level or the company level na kung ano yung pwedeng gawin, yung mga issues, ganyan. And the reason I believe why it goes out to the public to to take it upon themselves to fight for these causes is because it wasn't resolved on the company level, no? So, dito din nga natin nakikita, katulad ng sabi mo, Yula, na meron din siyang beneficial effects for us. And at this point, I guess, the conversation should be geared towards how, what do we see in cancel culture na detrimental or harmful, and how do we try to address these things para hindi tayo mag-result sa isang parang an eye for an eye situation,
Yes.
or correcting wrongdoing with wrongdoing situation.
Those are important questions, no? Kasi ayaw naman natin bumalik dun sa makalumang setup kung saan we put justice in our own hands. It's important that we go through due process and recognize our constitution, the rights that we are owed, and the responsibilities that we have in relation to this issue. Kaya nga, kung titingnan mo ang individual in comparison with an institution, there is a stark difference in terms of power dynamics or hierarchy. Kasi at the level of the institution, una, wala ka namang direct person, or it's not a sole person you are canceling, but the brand, the name of the corporation, the group. So, in such cases where they fail to take notice of the clamor of the people na ano dapat nilang baguhin, cancel culture brings people's attention to this real problem and tells us na they have to be accountable. Pero there are very crucial differences when you do that to an individual.
Exactly.
And sometimes an individual who doesn't have that much power in society. What are the implications? Yun nga nabanggit mo kanina, talagang long-lasting.
Ang effects.
Yeah.
And we have to recognize that internet is forever. Diba? So like whatever we put, kind of information in social media, in the internet, we have to recognize yung kanyang lasting na effect din doon sa person. So I think we may have to rethink about concepts of accountability, siguro in connection with the way we also reassess human rights, transparency, fairness, and justice sa usapin ng cancel culture.
And I think we need to interject this with the attitude of recognizing that people always have a room for growth, that people make mistakes. No?
Yeah.
And at the same time, this shouldn't mean that we just have to be silent on the injustices that we see, but we can approach it in such a way that we are treating it as a learning experience. We are still having this sense of care towards this person. I think those, and compassion as well, no? Those are some of the things that we can incorporate into this culture na sana at some point, hindi na canceling yung goal, but the goal is to actually learn from each other towards a more understanding and interconnected society.
Siguro here we see the importance as well of dialogue.
Yeah.
Yes.
No? Kasi when you cancel someone, you put a stop to the possibility of understanding each other. Minsan nga, hindi mo naman naintindihan yung sitwasyon, pero dahil yun yung ginagawa ng iba, you cancel someone, which is
Mob
very,
mentality,
Yeah. Very dangerous, no? So, in terms of the consequences we see, no, in sa level of individual and the level of corporation, with that, what are some insights or learnings we have as to the relationship of these different aspects or ethical dimensions dun sa pag-navigate nitong cancel culture? Kasi it's just starting, I think mag-evolve lang to habang lumalawak ang power of the internet and dumadami ang gumagamit ng social media and even the social media platforms.
Yeah, we cannot also deny the fact that in some cases, halimbawa, when you boycott a product and that company starts to respond to these kinds of human labor o kaya mga employment issues. So it's like para tayong, like that's a win-win for everyone, diba? Like when we start boycotting these companies, this corporation, we can start, claiming the rights, that are rightfully ours in the first place. Pero we can also think about on the individual level, I think this is going to be a constant conversation on how we should reconceptualize the way we look at these kinds of concepts. No? Yung fairness, no? Yung justice, tsaka at the same time, yung learning and growth ng individuals and agents.
It's so easy to cancel someone when you're hiding behind the screen. I think we would benefit from looking at ourselves and others as, first and foremost, human beings.
Yes.
Human beings who can be fallible, human beings who can grow, human beings who can change and learn. And
With social
be a better
context.
human being, yes.
Yeah, it shouldn't be divorced from these kinds of material realities. No? Kasi usually nakakalimutan natin yung mga social markers and divisions natin.
So with this very insightful discussion, I'm sure napakadami pang mauungkat na mga aspeto dito at kung ano pang mga ibang tanong kaugnay ng iba't ibang issue sa lipunan. Pero sa ngayon, no, titigilan muna natin ang diskusyon dito at i-invite natin ang lahat na isipin ulit, to rethink, when is it right to cancel someone? Or even the more basic question, is it right,
ever right?
no, to cancel someone? So we leave you with that question. Salamat sa pakikinig sa discussion na ito. Ako, si Yula Blanco.
I'm Jenica de Guzman.
And I'm Margaret Aganas.